Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Credit Plug YouTube channel, where we talk about how to build credit, how to establish relationships with financial institutions, and how to get you access to high limit credit funding. So for today's video, we're going to go over 12 different starter vendors that you can use to help you build initial business credit. So first on the list, and this is in order from the least amount of requirements to the most amount of requirements. So 1 through 7, these are all starter vendors that you can get pretty much guaranteed with a brand new LLC. There's no personal guarantee, no credit check. And then the ones on this side, you could still get these accounts, but some of these require either a business bank reference or another trade reference. So that's why they're sort of toward, the end. And these are in order as far as you could start with number 1 and go through the list. So the first one is NAV. NAV is essentially, I guess you could compare it to like a Credit Karma, but it's for business credit reporting. So what they recently just did back in September, they released a credit builder. So what they're doing now is they're actually reporting your monthly subscription for their business credit monitoring service as a trade line on your Dun & Bradstreet, your Equifax small business, and your Experian commercial business credit reports. So this is a great way, no barriers whatsoever. And they actually have a deal where if you do it quarterly, you can save 20%. So it's definitely worth it just to get some data reporting across your different business credit reports. Number 2, we have Quill. So Quill is another well-known starter vendor. They'll generally start you off with a $1,000 net 30. They have a lot of good supplies that you could actually use for your business. So that's definitely a vendor that you could, potentially have a long-term relationship with. Next is Uline. Uline has more industrial products. And yeah, they'll basically give you no PG without a credit check for a startup business. You could get those pretty much at the same time. Number 4 and 5, Strategic Network Solutions and Summa Office Supplies. They both report to D&B and Experian Commercial. They're actually owned by the same company. It's basically the same company. These two I always say are optional because they're not really vendors that you would buy things from regularly. What they will do is they'll give you a $2,000 net 30, but you have to order at least $65 in items in order for the trade line to report. And so many of their items are like downloadable items, so things like QuickBooks tutorial or Adobe tutorial, just things that business plan, resume makers, like it's not really things that you would probably order on a regular, but it's really just for going through the motion of getting data reported on your business credit report. So we actually have promo codes for you in the description if you want to check those out. Next up, we have Fuelman, which is another no PG gas card. What they'll generally do is they'll give you a $1,000 and it's a net 7, so that's just to begin with. And once you build up some history, then you'll likely get better terms. And then we also have Shell Fleet. Shell Fleet will generally give you a $1,000 net 30 gas card. And so one other thing about the gas cards, depending on what your industry classification, so there's SIC and NAICS codes. Basically, they're classification systems for the type of business. So if you have a business that has a SIC or NAICS code that's related to transportation, then you're probably going to get much higher limits for different gas cards. That's just one thing to keep in mind. So 1 through 7 you can get pretty much automatically. And then we have Amsterdam printing. So you can basically get promotional items, t-shirts, coffee mugs, keychains, things like that with your logo and business information printed on it. It's actually a pretty good trade that you could use. Their costs are actually pretty competitive. So I would actually recommend that as sort of a long-term vendor that you could actually build a relationship with. What they'll do is, for new businesses with no credit history, they'll require a 50% upfront payment for your order, and it has to come from your business bank account. They don't accept if you try to pay with a credit card. For the initial 50%, if you want to use a credit card, you have to pay the whole thing. So make sure you pay that with from a business bank account, ACH debit. And then what they'll do is, after you pay the 50% up front, you prepare your order, ship your order, and then they'll give you net 10 terms for the remaining balance. Now, I'm not sure what terms that they'll give you after your initial order, but based on our data points, that's what Amsterdam Printing has been doing. So then next up we have Granger. And I have that a little further down on the list because a lot of times you'll hear a lot of people talk about Uline, Quill, and Granger as 3 that you would start off with. But Granger actually requires a little bit more documentation. So they're going to want a business bank reference, they may want a trade reference, and depending on your industry, they may require your business license as well. So that you could definitely obtain net terms with Granger, but I put this lower on the list because it's some other qualifications that you need. Next up, we have Newegg Business. They sell things like external hard drives, computers, servers, a lot of hardware that you could use for your business, servers and all types of electronics. They're kind of like Granger too with regard to they do require trade references and business bank account references. Now the last 2 on the list are actually business credit cards that you could get fairly easily. So one of them is the Capital One Spark Classic. Now this credit card actually pulls your personal credit score. However, it does report to business and personal. So although you are PGing for it and it's doing a personal credit check, you're also building your business credit. So depending on what your preference is, some clients actually only prefer to have exclusively no PG options, but for the sake of just getting data reporting, that's one that you can consider. And you only need a 620 minimum, so it's for fair credit. It's definitely a great option to consider for building. One thing you want to keep in mind is, since it also reports personal, if you plan on rolling some business expenses over a course of a couple months, you might want to consider a different credit card, a business credit card that doesn't report personal, so that utilization that you're using for your business isn't affecting your personal credit. And then last, we have the Wells Fargo Secured. So this is another card that it requires a personal credit check, but it helps build business. And based on their verbiage, eventually you can get your deposit back. So that it is a secured card. You will have to put down a deposit, but just think of it as you're building data points for your business. So these are 12 options that you could start with to start building business credit immediately. Just to recap, you have NAV, Quill, Uline, Strategic Network Solutions, Summa Office Supplies, Fuelman, Shell Fleet, Amsterdam Printing, New Egg Business, Granger, Capital One Spark, and Wells Fargo Secured. So with those, you can start building your initial business credit, and then after that, once you have coverage across different credit reports, so your Dun& Bradstreet, your Experian, and your Equifax, as long as you have coverage across those with about 5 to 7 accounts, then you're able to move on to the next level, which would be store credit, and then eventually cash credit. So for those of you looking for lines that actually report, you can use these and start building immediately. That's all we have for this video. Make sure you subscribe if you like our content, and definitely check out some of the referral bonuses that we have in the description of the video. Any questions or inquiries, you can email us info@creditplug, and definitely check out our website at www.creditplug.com. Until next time, you guys take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.